Okay. Okay, hello, Walnut Creek School District families and staff who are joining me. I'm Tanya Amani, and I'm the behaviorist for the school district. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about how to utilize and implement positive reinforcements at home, as well as a few other things. Okay, first, I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about me and my background. So I've worked with children ages 2 through 19, both who are typically developing and children with special needs for 21 years in various settings. I've been an after school care teacher and a lifeguard and a swim instructor. I was the floater teacher in a daycare and preschool. I've taught reading in an inclusion preschool where children with autism were included. And I've worked with students with disabilities in homes and schools, first as an ABA therapist, and then I became an ABA supervisor. And that was for two different non-public agencies, and they were also non-public schools. I taught special education in one of those non-public schools and worked towards becoming a credentialed special education teacher and a board certified behavior analyst while working for those non-public agencies. Prior to coming to Walnut Creek School District, I worked in Los Altos School District for 5 years in a program with children for emotional disturbance. But I also helped the entire general education population and any students who had behavioral challenges at school. Then I moved to the East Bay and started working for Walnut Creek School District, and this is my 4th year here. So I've also been married for 12 years, and I have 2 boys. They're 2 and 4 years old. So I've definitely been working on my positive reinforcement skills at home these last 4 years, and especially the last 6 months. So first, I want to talk to you about providing praise and encouragement. So whenever we give praise, we want to give behavior-specific praise. So we could say something like, I like how you stayed on track and completed your math, instead of just saying good job. And the reason for this is that we want the child to increase those positive behaviors that we want to see. So when we give the behavior-specific praise, those behaviors are more likely to increase in the future. We might also pair that verbal praise with other forms of reinforcement. So if your child likes high fives, we're going to give a high five when we're giving them that behavior-specific praise. We'll raise the roof maybe. Lots of smiles and cheers. It depends on your child. So whatever your child likes, if they like high fives, if they don't like being touched, you wouldn't want to pair those forms of reinforcement with the behavior-specific praise. We also want to encourage our children by celebrating all the positive things that they do. Some days it might be hard to find a positive thing that they do, but there's always something. We can offer them help when it's needed. We wouldn't want to give them the answers, like if you were helping them with their distance learning assignment. We would want to lead them in how they can find the answers, or lead them in how they could advocate for themselves to find the answers. So maybe they could ask their peers in the class, they could ask their teacher, or they could ask you for help. And in doing this, we're fostering independence in our children. We want to try to avoid hovering and helicoptering. I've talked to some parents who, during distance learning, they've found it difficult to be in the same place with their child. So when they removed themselves kind of from the environment and gave their child their own space, it worked out better for the parents and for the child. It allowed that child to have their independence and feel and have more self-esteem. I have a video over here. I'm not going to play it for you guys, but if you would like to reference this later, this is being recorded and it'll be available for you on the district website under parent resources. And this is a video from one of our instructional coaches, and she gives specific instructions on how you can help your child with academics and foster independence at the same time. Also, how can we provide corrective feedback and give our children directions? So again, we want to praise your child for what they did do by giving behavior-specific feedback, and then let them know what they can do next. So if they didn't exactly do the assignment correctly, but they did something on the assignment, we could say, hey, I like how you circled all the words. Now let's see if we can find just the words that start with letter C. Maybe they didn't completely understand the directions, that's fine, but we can praise what they did do, what effort they did put into whatever they've done. We want to avoid asking our children to do something. Instead, we can give the direction as a statement or a directive. So if we're asking, oh, hey, do you want to go work on your writing? Most likely, no, they're not going to want to go work on their writing, right? Especially when we're at home, they want to go watch TV or chat with their friends. Instead, we can say, let's get started on this writing assignment, or how can I help you with this writing assignment? So giving it as a directive or a statement. If you have done all of these wonderful things in the correct way, and your child is, still refusing your help, you can model what they can say or do. So if they're, oh, Mom, leave me alone, I don't need your help. We can model how they can say it to you in a more respectful manner. Oh, you can say, I don't need your help right now. And we might need to repeat that a couple times until they do. tell us in the correct way, and then we want to give them that behavior specific praise. Thank you for using a nice tone of voice. We also want to set limits at home. So how can we do this? We want to set clear expectations before we begin an activity. So teachers are doing this, and you've probably heard through distance learning all the time. We're kind of priming our kids at the beginning of an assignment for what's expected of them. Oh, we're going to be looking at our camera on Zoom. We're going to stay on mute unless it's our turn to talk. So that you can do the same thing at home for any activity you're doing. So if you're expecting them to clean their room, you want to set the clear expectations on maybe what time you want them to have their room cleaned by. We also want to establish rules and routines in the home. So if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that things change and we have to adapt to those changes. So it's more important now to have some rules and routines in our lives for sure. We've had to change a lot of routines at my house. When we started shelter in place, I ended up typing out a whole daily schedule kind of for myself to follow, because I was at a loss for what to do. And so that really helped me, help my family get us back on track and have a set routine in place. And then that also helped decrease the behaviors that my boys were starting to have too. We want to give clear and specific directions. So if you want your child to go clean their room, instead of just saying clean your room, maybe you go look at the room with them and you can give specific directions. Oh, I see we have a lot of dirty clothes on the floor. Like, let's put the dirty clothes in the hamper, clean clothes in the dresser, books go back on the bookshelf, toys in the toy bin. So now you've given them specific directions and clear expectations on what's expected for cleaning their room. And your child, if you need to have them repeat to you what you said, because maybe they don't always pay attention to you, have them repeat what you said so for sure they know what's expected of them. When we're giving directions, we want to let our child, giving feedback, let our child know what we want them to do rather than what we don't want them to do. And I say this to teachers all the time in the school setting, like instead of don't run down the hall, they might only hear run down the hall. Well, what do we want them to do? We want them to use walking feet in the hallway. We want them to have quiet, not be talking in the hallway. So we would say, like, we're going to have a quiet voice. We're going to walk down the hallway. We're going to go into the library and we're going to sit down and wait for the librarian to give us directions. So the same thing at home. So if they were going to play a game with their sister and the last time it just ended in a knockdown drag out fight, okay guys, when we play this game, we're going to share, we're going to take turns, rather than don't hit your sister, don't fight with your sister. We always want to follow through with what we say. And this is a hard one. So, because sometimes in the heat of the moment, we might lose it a little bit, right? And we're giving threats that we might not really be able to follow through with. Like, if you hit your sister one more time, I'm going to take TV away for the whole week. Like, are you really going to take TV away for the whole week? Maybe you are, and that's great. If you can follow through with that, do it. But if that's not something you can reasonably follow through with, we wouldn't want to set that limit. So make sure whatever limits you're setting, you can follow through with at home. Now, how do we provide reinforcement at home? So there's different types of reinforcement we can provide. We can provide social reinforcement, and that might be through the verbal praise like we were talking about earlier. It could be spending time with a friend, spending time with a family member. We can also provide activities as types of reinforcement. So that could be, playing a game, going to the zoo, going on a walk, and we can provide tangible kinds of reinforcement. So that might be a special snack, a new toy they've been eyeing on Amazon. So those are the 3 different types of reinforcement we could provide. When we're providing reinforcement, we want it to be effective. If it's not effective, we're not going to see that increase in the behaviors that we want to see. So we make it effective by making it immediate. So as soon after the behavior that you want to increase happens, you want to give your feedback, your reinforcement. You also want it to be distinct. So you want to be genuine with your reinforcement, and you want to make sure that you have your child's attention. So, if they're in the middle of an iPad game, that's not the best time to be giving them reinforcement. You'd have them pause, look at you, make sure they're paying attention, and then give that behavior-specific feedback to them. And that leads to being descriptive. So again, we want to give behavior-specific feedback for those behaviors we want to reinforce and increase. We also want our reinforcement to be preferred. So if your child, doesn't like chocolate, we're not going to give them chocolate as a reinforcement. So make sure you're giving them things that they like when you're trying to reinforce them. And then we want to vary our reinforcement. We don't want to give the same kinds of reinforcement all the time, because over time it's going to lose its effectiveness, right? And it's not exciting anymore. So you could give social reinforcement one time, an activity another time, tangible reinforcement another time. We can also use first then statements when we're giving directions or giving feedback. So if you know there's something that your child doesn't like to do, like maybe their math work, we can have something fun to do afterwards. Like, okay, we're gonna work on our math, and when we're all done, you can have a break on the iPad. And then you want to be able to stick with that. So again, don't set a limit or put something afterwards that you're not going to be able to provide for the student. And then we can provide reinforcement on different kinds of schedules. So there's 3 different kinds we can do: frequent, random, and structured. So frequent scheduled reinforcement would be reinforcing the behavior you want to increase every single time it's happening. And you would not do this forever. You would want to fade that frequent reinforcement over time. So that would then become random reinforcement. So maybe you're reinforcing them every few times they engage in that behavior you want to increase. Maybe, once every couple days. So it depends on the behavior. And then you can also provide structured reinforcement. And I'm going to get into that with the token economy. So structured reinforcement would be more like if you were going to write it out, like, okay, you have 10 math problems. So I'm going to give you a star for every math problem that you do. Or maybe they're checking off each problem that they're doing. So after they complete their 10 problems, then you're going to provide that reinforcement. And I want to give you an example of how I was using frequent reinforcement with my older son this summer. So during the shelter in place, he had started getting out of bed a lot. So probably like 10 times a night, after we would put him to bed. So it got a little out of hand. So in order to help him stay in bed until the morning time, we started a token board. So it's also the token economy that we did. And so where he could earn a prize. So every night for about 10 days, he got a reward in the morning, like a little small toy, if he stayed in bed all night. There were some nights he did not stay in bed all night, so he did not earn that toy the next morning, but that's okay. It's a new day. We're going to try again tonight. And so after about 10 days of that, we moved to, okay, now you have to do every 2 nights. So after 2 nights, then we moved it to a random schedule of reinforcement. So then he would get a prize after 2 nights. And then it was 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights. I think I went from 5 nights to a week. And then over time, he was able to stay in bed by himself. He didn't need any reinforcement for doing it. He was just doing it on his own. So let's talk about the token economy. So as I showed you, this is a token economy. So this would be like a physical version of a token economy. So when we do it, we want to identify the reinforcer. So I just have a generic prize here, but it might be a social activity or tangible reinforcer, whatever your child would like. And then how are they earning that reward? So for my son, he had to stay in bed all night until the morning time to earn his reinforcer. So when I increased it from getting just a reward in the morning to 2 nights, I gave him 3 smiley faces. So he had 3 smiley faces, so he only had to earn 2 more. So after 2 nights of staying in bed all night until the morning time, then he earned his other 2 smiley faces, then he got his reward. And then you also want to decide with your partner and with your child, like what happens if they engage in the challenging behavior. So for my son, if he didn't stay in bed all night, he just didn't earn his smiley face for that day. So that's something you guys would want to talk about and decide as a family. Are we just going to remind them and try again the next time? Are they losing a privilege or something? So that's something you would need to decide for yourselves. On the physical, this is a link here that will be available to you guys that you could print out your own token board like this if you would like to use one. I also want to show you guys a couple of digital options that I made here. And you'll also have access to these on the district website. So this is just what do you want to work for? So, and you can change these pictures to whatever you want. So for this kid, it was, goldfish crackers, popcorn, or playing with letters. And then you can just click through each thing. So these are the 5 stars he has to earn. There's 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. Finally, yeah, you did it. All right, you earned your prize. Or there was a little break time on here that you could have 5 minutes of maybe iPad break time or something. So that's one example of a digital token board for you. I have one more I want to show you. So this one is on the second slide, there's a game board that I made. So it's like I can earn small prizes, and so choose one of the small prizes. And again, you can change out these pictures to whatever works for your child. And then I can earn big prizes. So choose one big prize that they want to earn. This was a toy, a gift card, or camping in the backyard. So for this one, you would move these stars over every time they engage in that appropriate behavior that you want to increase. And then after 5 of these, then there's this treasure chest. That's when you would get a small prize. And then when you get to the finish line, you get your big prize. Okay. A couple of others I want to show you. A punch card. So this is one we might use for older students at school. So if we were at school using this, like we would do little hole punches in each of these every time the child engages in that behavior that we want to increase. If you're at home, I have a digital one too that you could use. And then you guys can decide, decide together, do they get a reward every fifth hole punch? Do they need to do the whole card and not get it till there's 20 hole punches? That's up to you, but you would do the same thing where you're going to identify the reinforcer, how are they earning the reward, and what happens if they engage in the challenging behavior. So on the physical link, that's where you can get one of these to print out if you would like. And the digital one looks like this. And again, like the little game board, you can move these stars, maybe. You can move the stars on there instead of doing hole punches for each one. Okay, and I have one more. I want to show you a tally card. So this is the physical version of the tally card. So for this student, all we wanted them to do was make it to their Zoom class and stay there the whole time. So then we can decide, do we need to earn all of these tallies? If they're not getting to any Zoom classes, maybe we start with, and there's 5 Zooms a day, maybe we do 1 Zoom. Okay, we're gonna make it to 1 Zoom and stay the whole time. And then we can slowly increase that over time. So you could just do a check mark on there, smiley face, a sticker, whatever you want. And then I have a digital version you can use as well. So for this kid, he wanted to work for Minecraft, and he only had to get 5 stars. So there were six options on here, and they just had to get 5 stars in order to earn their Minecraft time. So for participating in Zoom class. And now I'm going to talk to you guys about behavioral contracts, which are also known as contingency contracts. So this is where it's kind of a version of a token economy. And this, again, could be used for older students. You can also use it for younger students. You might want to have more pictures available for younger students to use. But you earn the reward contingent on if you engaged in the behavior that we want to see. So there's 3 components. The task, so what are we expecting the child to do? The reward, what is it that they're working for? And then the task record. So how do we know whether or not they completed the task? So same as like on the token economy, we got the sticker to show that they completed the task. So how are we going to develop this? First, we want to hold a meeting. So if we were going to do this at school, it might be just the teacher and the student making a behavior contract. It might be the teacher, the student, and the behaviorist. It might be the teacher, student, and principal, teacher, student, and parent. So there's different teams that might be involved in making a behavior contract. Then I'm going to show you all of these lists. If you don't feel like doing all of these lists at home, that's fine. You can at least talk, I would at least talk about all of these things. So each list you would want to fill out. A is a self-identification of possible tasks for the contract. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So let's say you want your child to help out with more chores at home, especially now that we're home a little more, they could help out a little more. So this is where your child would fill this out, and you could of course help them with this or just talk about it. So things I do to help my family. So what are the things I do? Well, I clean up my room. I help set the table for dinner. So what are some other things I could do to help my family and myself? I could feed the dogs. I could take the trash out, things like that. So you'd want to talk about those things. And then the next list you would want to fill out or talk about is, so this one you would write the name on it, but then the person whose name is here would not fill this out. So everyone else would fill out this list. So things that Tanya does to help the family. So if my name was on this, I wouldn't fill it out. My husband and my 2 boys would fill it out or talk about it. And then what are some other ways that I could help the family? I would clearly need way more than 7 things because I help the family out a lot. And then you would want to compare the lists at the end and see, are there any similarities? Are there things that maybe aren't reasonable for other ways that you can help the family? So this is kind of for what everyone in the family could be doing. And then finally, you want to fill out or talk about this list. Identify what it is that we're going to work for. So what are the things, activities, and special treats that your child would like to earn for this behavior contract? All right, now I'm going to show you an example of a contract. So we're going to say we did all of those things. What does our contract look like? And you can, so I'd only provided you with an example, but you can Google behavior contract and it gives you tons of examples and templates online. So for this student, excuse me, so Mark is going to get ready for school every day. And how well is Mark going to do this? He's going to get out of bed, he's going to get dressed, and he's going to finish his cereal or breakfast by 8 o'clock each morning. He's not going to get any more than one reminder from his parents and must be ready for Zoom all 5 days to get the reward. If you were doing this for your child and they're not getting ready for school at all, I wouldn't start with 5 days. We want the goal to be attainable, so maybe you would start with 2 days a week or something. And then the reward, so who's going to do this? Mom and dad are responsible for the reward. What does he want to get? His friend's staying over for a treat. So Jimmy obviously is in his social pod, so he's allowed to stay over his house. So when is he going to get this? On Friday night after a perfect week. So that means Mark had to get ready on time every single day with no more than one reminder for his Zooms. And then Jimmy gets to come over to Mark's house after school, stay the night, and they get to have pizza and ice cream. You want to make sure that you guys sign it. So Mark signed it, and then Mom signed it. And then here's their task record at the bottom. So how are they keeping track of it? So the first week, Mark started out great, and then, Mark, he forgot. So he did not earn his reward that week. Then the next week, he did it every day. So he earned his reward. The following week, did it every day, earned his reward. And you don't have to have a task record like that. You could have a whiteboard, that you have on your fridge at home, or I'm sure you have whiteboards, paper. You could do tally marks, however you guys want to keep track. Okay. All right, things we want to be prepared for when we are implementing positive reinforcements at home. And this happens at school too. So the behavior might get worse before it gets better. So if you have whatever behavior you're wanting to improve, now your child's like, oh man, they're on to me. I got to start doing better. So they might try a few more things, right? They might do a few more behaviors. And so then we might see what's called an extinction burst. So that's where the behavior's at its absolute worst. Maybe they're yelling, maybe now they're throwing things, they're stomping off, slamming their door, whereas before maybe they were just refusing. So what do we want to do? We want to wait. Wait is in all capital letters because it stands for, why am I talking? So as long as your child is safe and they're not injuring themselves or anyone else, we can kind of ignore those increases in behavior and wait until they're calm, and then talk about it and have a calm state and talk about what's going on and why we're doing this, and remind them of what it is that they're working towards and what behavior it is that we are wanting to improve. I caution you to not throw in the towel too soon. So if we were going to implement a new behavior strategy in school, we would do it for at least 4 to 8 weeks before we say, okay, this is, either this is working, great, wonderful, or this is not working, let's come up with some other ideas. What else can we do? We also want to only implement one strategy at a time. If you're implementing multiple strategies at one time, you don't really know for sure which strategy is working. So do one at a time so that we know whether or not that strategy is working for your child for increasing that behavior that you want to see. As I talked about earlier, in my token economy that I did with my son, we'd want to avoid taking away what your child has already earned. So if they already earned, all 4 of their smiley faces, and you're working on not hitting your sister, and then you hit your sister, well, they already earned this, right? Because maybe you were doing every hour that they don't hit their sister, they get a smiley face. Well, he already earned that. So if you're taking that away, what's the point in earning stick? What's the point in not hitting my sister? You're just going to take away what I earned. So I recommend avoid not taking away what they've already earned and just, reminding them, we don't hit our sister. What can we do instead? We can use our words, and giving them those alternative choices, a replacement behavior for what we can do instead of hitting our sister. If they took your toy, you can talk about, that was my toy, I'm playing with that. So give them an alternative to what they can do instead. We also want to be patient. This is, of course, one of the hard ones right now, especially when a lot of us are stuck at home. Before you would implement any kind of system, I would just visualize for yourself all the things that can go right and all the things that can go wrong, and how are you going to respond to that? Because then you're going to be more prepared for that, and when it happens, you're going to be ready to respond in an appropriate manner. Of course, there's going to be times where you might lose it, and that's okay. No one's perfect. Catch yourself, talk to your family about it, talk to your child about it. Hey, I didn't respond in the best way this time. This is what I'm going to do differently the next time. And then, of course, we want to be consistent. Consistency is key. And before I had kids, I wondered all the time, why it was so hard for parents to, follow behavior plans at home. It's not hard to be consistent. As I have my own children, I understand especially how hard it is to be consistent at home. There's definitely a different emotional component with your own child than with someone else's child. I'm way more patient with other kids than I am with my own children. So try to be as consistent as possible. Again, going back to, you want to visualize everything that might go wrong, everything that might go right, so that you're going to be prepared. If you're not 100% consistent, that's okay. No one is. But catch yourself, and again, talk to your child about it, talk to your family about it. You know, hey, I said I was going to take your TV away for a week. I shouldn't have said that. I was mad. I was frustrated at the time. What I am going to do is this, and talk to them about it and why that's happening, so that they understand that you mean what you say. All right, that was quick. That's all I have for you guys today. If you would like to leave me any feedback, please do on this link here. Again, this will be posted to the district website. So if you don't have time to copy this down, you may access it on the district website. If you have any questions about anything I talked about today, there's only 3 questions on this form for you. And thank you for everything that you guys are doing. I know this is a challenging time. We appreciate all your support in helping your children learn. And remember that we're all in this together. Please don't suffer in silence. If you need support, reach out to someone in the district, reach out to a friend, reach out to a family member. We're all here to help. Okay? Thank you.